Well, ho, 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 and welcome to another video. And today we're going to talk about gaming Christmases that I can remember. And I say I can remember because, to be fully honest, I don't remember all of them. I remember some that actually were birthdays, so I've excluded that stuff. And these are specifically the things that I remember growing up. Now, when I was pretty young, I'd say about 5 or 6 years old, I used to make these Christmas lists that were like 4 or 5 pages, handwritten front and back, of just games. Now, I don't really know where I would have come up with that many games because at the time, the internet for me, it wasn't that big of a thing. It was the early 2000s, I'd say like 2001, and you had dial up, and I don't remember being able to find that stuff online until much later. So I'm not really sure where I got all these games, but I had enough to fill at least 4 pages front and back. Now, the first game that I can remember, and I saw it in a picture, that's how I really remember it, that I got was for the PS1, and that's Crash Bandicoot 3. Now, this is my original one, which, yes, it has the holographic, yeah, there it goes. It's hard to make it do that on camera. The holographic cover. This is still, 100% intact, my original copy. And I had a PS1 before this. I had Crash Bandicoot 2, and I think I got Crash Bandicoot 1 later on. And this one to me at the time was pretty good. It wasn't as good. I thought the power-ups were kind of gimmicky, but that's just me. This game is still great, and this is the farthest back that I can remember specifically being a Christmas gift. Now, after that, years later, I remember specifically getting a GameCube bundle. Now, I'm not going to pull the GameCube down because it's way up there. I ain't going to bother with that. But what I do have is some of the stuff that it came with. And one of the things was the Game Boy player. And yes, this is the disc. I know a lot of people lost this portion of it, but it came with a Game Boy player, and I thought this was incredible because I had the Super Game Boy growing up, but when you could finally play Game Boy Advance games on a TV, that was something. Now, besides that, this thing also came with a nice little demo disc. It had 5 games in it, and I know what you're thinking, there's only 4 here on the cover, but there's a 5 in the middle. It's because they threw the last one on the back. So Soul Calibur 2 was on here, which is actually the reason I got into Soul Calibur. I didn't know it existed before this. And as well as that, you had Beautiful Joe, Billy Hatcher, Sonic DX, and Splinter Cell. I wish I would have bought this back in the day because it's expensive now, and it was a really good game. This one I do own, this one I don't own, this one I do own, and this Splinter Cell I played a lot of the demo. Specifically, when you're trying to sneak through a Chinese restaurant, and there's a cook, and you can distract him, or you can make food. I think you could make the food explode on him or something. It was the first game I ever played with that much you could do in a game. And I'm coming straight from the previous generation of systems, PS1 and 64. There wasn't that much. I got a PS2 and a GameCube pretty close about the same time, and I played the GameCube a lot more. So for me, that was incredible at the time. Now, besides that, because this thing just came with so much stuff, it also came with the Ocarina of Time and Master Quest bundle. Yes, this is also the original one from back in the day. I don't get rid of anything, and this was my first time playing Ocarina of Time. Now, I did play Link to the Past back, when I had the game on Super Nintendo. I didn't really play any of the big titles on the N64 outside of I had Mario 64 and I had Smash Brothers. And then I had things that maybe went under the radar for a lot of people. I skipped all the Zelda games. I skipped Mario Kart 64, but I had Diddy Kong Racing. But that's all for another story. But yes, this was my first opening to, Ocarina of Time. And I liked it. I don't really consider it the best Zelda of all time, like some people say. I honestly thought Breath of the Wild was up there, and Link to the Past is up there. It's not bad, but I don't know if it's because I came into it too late. It's hard to say. Now, besides that, I remember specifically getting 2 more games for Christmas that year. The first one was Luigi's Mansion, and at the time, I didn't like it. And I think it was because the controls were kind of strange. This was new at the time, and I had never played anything like this. And of course, as a kid, sometimes the ghosts, the horror aspect of games, I wasn't quite into that when I was younger. Now, Luigi's Mansion, honestly, the series is one of my favorite. I've beaten all of the ones they've put out. I haven't, perfected all of them, but I've played through the story of all 3 of them, and I love them. Back then, not so much, sadly. Now, the other thing that I specifically remember, and this was a gift from one of my grandmas at the time, was Mario Party 7. Yes, this is an empty box. I have the rest of it over there, but I kept the box just on the shelf just because, it was interesting. And I had played Mario Party 1 and 3 on the N64, and then I jumped all the way to 7. I eventually got Mario Party 5, I believe, after this one, but 7 was really good. It's the one where you could have a microphone, as you can see here, which is why it was in the big box. And yeah, it was a very good Mario Party. It's one of the better ones. There was really only one that I didn't care for, and that's the one where you're in the car together. Wasn't bad, but wasn't great. But that's besides the point. So, the last thing that I specifically remember, because as time went on, I just got all kinds of stuff, and I added some games for this system, that system, and eventually started buying things for myself. As time goes on, it's a different story. But the last one I really, really specifically remember was we got a Wii for the family back in, what would this have been, somewhere around 2009-ish, so like a few years after it came out. This isn't said Wii. Said Wii is over there, hooked up. This is the spare Wii that I have that I had planned to modify. Just haven't gotten around to it. But yes, I remember we got the Wii, and we got, of course, Wii Sports that came with it. And I remember we got a few other things. I believe Mario Galaxy was one of them. And that was probably the most memorable of them all. So I remember putting a lot of time into that. And, as years went on, it really became, I still made the 4 or 5 page lists of games. And it was kind of just like I would lay them all out. In fact, I have old videos from like 2 YouTube channels ago. If I can find them, maybe we'll look at them one day. I've been doing this for a long time, except different YouTube channels. I think I started doing YouTube in 2006. So, it's been a long time. So that might be a Christmas present for anybody who watches these, as me rewatching some of my gaming videos from all the way as far back as probably 2006. I don't know if I did gaming right away. I think I started doing gaming videos in 2008. I started with doing cartoons. So there'll be a video about me going back into cartoons as well. So anyway, back on topic. That's the stuff that I remember getting for Christmas. I just thought it would be something interesting to talk about. I do this for my own memory's sake sometimes. So let me know what you got, and I'll see you in the next one.